Scariest science horror stories, let's begin. Story 1. I worked in sensory deprivation research. What I saw made me quit forever. I used to be a neuroscience grad student at a major US university. My research focused on sensory deprivation tanks, basically float tanks where subjects lie in warm salt water in total darkness and silence. We were studying how the brain reacts to total sensory isolation. At first, it was harmless. Most subjects lasted an hour or two. They reported some trippy visuals, some lost track of time, some even said they felt like they weren't in their bodies. That was expected. It's just the brain filling in blanks when it has no input. Then we started pushing the limits. We extended the sessions, 3 hours, then 4, then overnight. We wanted to know how long the mind could go without any stimulation. That's when things started getting weird. One subject, let's call him Subject 12, was a healthy 29-year-old guy. No mental health history, physically fit. He volunteered for a 6-hour session. Halfway through, he started pressing the emergency button, but when we pulled him out, he was completely silent. Just shaking. Took 20 minutes before he spoke. He said he was stuck in someone else's dream. His words, not mine. Said he saw a little girl watching him from the other side of the tank wall. Except, there is no window. He described her in detail. Black hair, red shirt, no face. Not like, she had no expression. He said, she had no face. It was just smooth. We chalked it up to hypnagogic hallucinations, common in sensory deprivation. But then it kept happening. Over the next few months, 4 more subjects described the exact same figure. Always the same. Little girl, black hair, red shirt, smooth face. One said she was humming. Another said she was in the tank with them. They never knew each other. We never shared their reports. We hadn't published a thing. Then one subject went into the tank and just didn't come out when the session ended. We had to force the door open. He was curled up in the fetal position, crying. He couldn't speak for 2 days. When he finally did, he said, she tried to open me. I left the project after that. I tried to explain it rationally. Maybe they were influenced by residual conversations, or by unconscious priming from the environment. Maybe some strange archetype wired into human perception manifests under extreme sensory withdrawal. But I don't buy it anymore. Not after what I experienced myself. My final test was an overnight in the tank. 8 hours. I lasted 2.5. Before I bailed, I heard whispering, except I wasn't wearing earplugs. I was submerged. Water doesn't carry whispers. And I swear to God, something tapped my forehead from inside the tank. There's nothing in there. There shouldn't be. I haven't gone near a tank since. And if you're thinking of trying one, do yourself a favor. If you see her, don't talk to her. Story 2. I studied sleep paralysis. Then it started happening to me, and it didn't stop. I'm a former neuroscience PhD student. My thesis was on sleep paralysis, that terrifying condition where you wake up, can't move, and often see or feel something in the room with you. It's well documented. It happens in REM sleep when your body is still paralyzed but your mind is awake. The hallucinations, explained by the brain's panic response plus dream imagery bleeding through. We thought we understood it. Then I volunteered to monitor myself for a few weeks. Hooked up EEG, motion sensors, the works. Nothing fancy, just trying to build a sleep model. The first few nights were uneventful. Then the dreams started. Not nightmares, exactly. Just vivid. Too vivid. I'd be in my room, lying in bed, but everything was just slightly off. The shadows too long. The air too still. Always a sense of being watched. Then came the paralysis. I'd wake up and feel it, like concrete pressing on my chest. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I started seeing the figure. Same spot every time. Corner of my room, just out of reach of the desk lamp's glow. Tall. No face. Hands too long. At first I chalked it up to textbook hallucinations. I even logged it all for the research. But it kept happening, every night, getting earlier and earlier in my sleep cycle. Then it started bleeding into my waking hours. I'd blink during the day and see it for a split second, the figure. Just standing there. Gone in a blink. I checked my EEG logs and noticed something weird. Brain activity during paralysis looked identical to deep meditation or seizure onset. It wasn't normal REM at all. I showed my advisor. She got real quiet and asked, "Have you ever had a family history of epilepsy?" I said no. She said, "Then I think we're seeing something else." I stopped the project after I woke up one night and couldn't see anything at all, pitch black, even with my eyes open. The sensors showed I was fully awake. But I wasn't in my room. I haven't done sleep research since. And I still sleep with the lights on. Story 3. The gene editing experiment worked too well. I worked in a biotech lab doing early CRISPR testing on mice. We were modifying genes related to neuroplasticity, basically trying to boost learning and memory by tweaking how the brain rewires itself. Ethically gray? Maybe. But it was fully funded and approved. Our modified mice started showing results immediately. They learned mazes in minutes. Solved problems. Showed signs of planning. One mouse, we called her Daisy, even figured out how to fake being asleep to trick the lab tech into skipping her enclosure. Things escalated fast. One morning, Daisy wasn't in her cage. She'd chewed through a panel, avoided every trap, and was found standing on the shelf next to the food lockers, watching the night tech eat. Just watching. We thought it was funny at first. Like, damn, smart mouse. But then we noticed something strange. The other mice started mimicking Daisy. Non-modified mice. They were learning from her. Too fast. 1 week later, all modified mice, and a few controls, had escaped. We recovered most. But Daisy was never found. Here's where it gets worse. One of our researchers, Sarah, started acting off. Obsessively staring at the cages. Writing notes we couldn't understand. One day, she handed in a paper titled, "Reverse Domestication of Intelligence in Model Organisms." That's not a paper we were working on. She quit the next day and went off-grid. We had the facility shut down. The modified strain was destroyed. Or so they told us. Sometimes I hear scratching in my walls at night. Sometimes I swear, I hear it stop when I stop. Story 4. The body wasn't cold, but he'd been dead for 8 hours. I work night shifts at a small hospital morgue. A man was brought in DOA from a hiking accident, fell off a cliff, definitely dead on arrival. Paramedics marked his death as around 1 p.m. We logged him at 9:30 p.m. But when I went to prep him, his body was warm. Not fresh warm. Like, radiating heat from his core. No signs of life, no heartbeat, no brain activity. But his temperature read 99.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's above normal. I called a doctor. He checked vitals. Same result. She stared at him a long time and said, "Sometimes cells don't know the body is dead." I didn't sleep for 2 days after that.